In this unit, we're going to talk about how to add a subform to a form. And once again, I'm going to be using pizza orders. If you didn't follow the previous recordings, it shouldn't cause a problem in this case. In the book, they show you how to create a form from scratch. And I'm not a big believer, I've said this in a couple of the earlier recordings, a big believer in creating forms from scratch. We have this form wizard that allows us to build forms, including subforms, very, very easily. So what I would probably do is this. I'm going to show you how to do it with the wizard, then I'm going to back up and show you how to do it without the wizard in case you've created a form and then afterwards decided you want to add a subform to it. But for all the homework assignments, if you think about it strategically and look at what they want you to create, you could probably use the wizard to create the whole thing. I want a list of all of my customers and as a subform the orders that customer has placed. So each form would have customer information and then their orders. Now this came up with TBL orders and I can change it, but a good strategy for the future is before you click the form wizard, click the primary table that your form is based on. So now I'm going to go to the form wizard. Now notice it automatically brings in TBL customers. For the customer table, I want all the fields except the ID. The ID is just an auto-generated number that doesn't mean anything. I don't see any sense in putting it on the form. Now here's a key. If you're bouncing stuff back and forth like this, I'm going to add some more fields now for my subform from the orders table. So here's the orders table, but notice that first name is selected. The next field I select is automatically going to be slid in underneath first name, so I need to make sure I select the last one. For each order, I want the date and the size pizza they ordered. Let's just go with the order total for right now. Excuse me. And so now, because I've got data from two different fields, the wizard is going to ask me, you want a primary on customer or primary on orders? I want customers. Usually Access is pretty smart, does this right. My subtable, my subform is in datasheet view, that works for me. And now let's give each one of them a name. If you use this wizard technique in the book, when you're doing your homework assignments, make sure that you rename every one of these forms with the appropriate prefix. And I'm just going to call this temp because I'm not even going to save this when I'm done. This subform is also a form, so FRM temp subform finish. And now I have everything that I need. I have a subform, I have this stuff, I have the fields. Personally, I don't see a reason to do it manually, but the book does ask you to do it that way. So if you do create a form and you want to add a subform afterwards, I'm going to show you how to do that next. But remember, there's no way for me or anybody else to tell, and it really doesn't matter how you add the subform, either with wizards or manually, as long as you get them in there properly. So I like these wizards because it makes life a little bit easier. Don't really need my two temp tables or two temp forms, so I'm going to delete them. Control click, right, whoops. It's not going to let me control click them after all, so let's just delete them individually. You sure? Yeah. And that one as well. Okay. Now I'm going to create the customer form all by itself. And again, you use the wizard to save a little bit of time. Select table customers, create form wizard, send everybody over except the ID number. Next, next, give it a name, and this is going to be my FRM customer orders. It's going to have that subform in it when I'm done. Finish. And now I have my regular form. And now I go, oops, I forgot my subform. And if you've done a lot of other customization, like let's go to the title here and tweak that and take the stuff off of there and add some spacing. Okay. You maybe do a whole bunch of other things and then you go, oh my gosh, I forgot my subtable. Or you create this form and then in the future you decide you want a subtable. It's really not that hard to add a subtable. In the previous recording, we were adding combo boxes, and we found out that wizards don't work in layout view. And the subform is another one of those objects that when you add it, you want to use a wizard. So I'm going to go to design view so that the wizard kicks in. Unfortunately, in design view, I kind of have to make room for my subform. So I'm going to drag, whoops, that was my footer. I'm going to drag the bottom of the detail section down to make a little bit more room. And I'm going to go to design view and scroll down and find the subform. And I want my subform to align with my other data. I could align it over here. Okay. I'm going to align it with my other data. and now the wizard kicks in. This will not happen if you're using the layout view, and then you got to figure all this stuff out on your own, and I wouldn't want to do it. What am I going to put in my subform? Stuff from an existing table or a query, either one. Which table? I want it to come from the orders table. Could have created a query for this. What do you want? I want the order date, the size, the pizza that was ordered, and then for future reference, for the next recording, I want the cheese sticks, the coupon, and the order total. All right. Now what do you want to do? How do you link all this stuff up? I want to show the orders for each record. That's what I want. Normally that's what you want. So just click next. And what do you want to call the subform? FRM orders subform. Finish. And there's my subform. Now let's take a look at it, see how it looks in layout view. Looks pretty good. I really don't need this title up here, so I'm going to get rid of that. Obviously I could pull this over and line it up underneath, but I think this looks pretty good. I'm now going to resize. The quickest way to resize all the columns in your subform is to select the entire subform using the selector in the upper left, and then pick any column edge and double click to size to fit. Now in this case my subform is not wide enough because my order total is still chopped off, so I'm going to stretch it a little wider and resize that again. Just needed a little bit more space, and then bring it back again. One other thought is if you have a lot of orders, save yourself room here for a scroll bar. If you don't save room for a scroll bar and then we get more orders and fits in this little window, the scroll bar will show up and chop off half of your order total. So if you have a lot of orders, we don't. If you have a lot of orders, you might want to leave yourself enough room for a scroll bar, and once you get that many orders, then you can start experimenting with how wide this needs to be so it fits just right. In my case, for right now, I don't have anybody with that many orders, so I'm going to shrink it down so it just barely fits. Come on. But now I get a scroll bar, so I need to make it a little wider. Let's try the shift right arrow. There we go. Just a smidge, 1 pixel wider so that I don't get that scroll bar down here, because that's annoying when there's nothing. It looks like there's something over on the right and there's really nothing there. So those have been resized. I got rid of the label. Like I said, if you forget your subform, easy to add them after the fact. You simply go to the subform under the form layout tools, add it in design view so that you get to take advantage of the wizards, and then simply reconfigure and restyle it to look the way you want. Simple.